would. The Emergency Centers Establishment Act breaks that down. But all of you that think you're serving this and think it's cute, because I run into yuppies that go, so what if all that's going on? I'm having a good time. You think you're getting ahead? No, you're not. You have turned your back on humanity. You are the manifestation of a rotting, imploding society.
Attention, attention. American forces are here to help. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience.
Before we go to break, it's gut check time. I told you that they were developing a secret program to arrest political dissidents in this country. They were training the military and police for urban warfare and pacification of the citizens and takeover of government. I've been telling you this for 15 of my 17 years on air. I learned about this when I got on air because police and military contacted me who were patriots and said, do you know this is going on? Now, all of it is out in the open. But none of it is breaking through and becoming a mainstream media issue. We need to force this information out because there's an acceleration, the likes of which I've never seen, in the buildup towards implementation of what you will call, or what I would call, a hot martial law. We've been in the beginning stages, the Cold War buildup of this giant system. But if I had a graph here in front of me to dead reckon it going back to the mid-1990s and this covert program of military behind the scenes with police and surveillance and all this, it was down here slowly growing, okay? And you get up to 2001, it starts skyrocketing, and now the graph goes about 300 feet in the air. You know, the last 15 years or so, it only goes a few feet and starts going up. And now it's just like a rocket. So they're accelerating this, pouring billions a month into it, getting the prison guards ready. The purchase orders are all public. And it's the same plan they hatched in the 80s to arrest political dissidents and put them in camps. And now we learn it's re-education of conservatives, libertarians, patriots, people that don't want world government. But it'll be across the board, anti-war activists, you name it. So here is a clip from Rex 84 section in Police State 4, total enslavement, with Oliver North being questioned about it in Iran-Contra. Up on screen are photocopies of the Miami Herald, and this goes back into the 1980s when they had congressional hearings dealing with shadow government and martial law. There's the headline, The Secret Government. And it talks about secret summits, a plan to take over the government. And it shows the people that were in charge of the continuity of government, Dick Cheney and others. And then we have a congressional hearing where we have Congressman Jack Brooks and others during Iran-Contra bringing up the secret plans, and they're told by Congressman in a way that that can't be discussed. It's a national security issue.
In the 1980s, the concentration camp program got a big boost.
Colonel North, in your work at the NSC, were you not assigned at one time to work on plans for the continuity of government in the event of a major disaster?
Mr. Chairman.
I believe that question touches upon a highly sensitive and classified area, so may I request that you not touch upon that, sir.
I was particularly concerned, Mr. Chairman, because I read in Miami papers and several others that there had been a plan developed by that same agency, a contingency plan in the event of emergency that would suspend the American Constitution. And I was deeply concerned about it and wondered if that was the area in which he had worked. I believe that it was,
may I most respectfully request that that matter not be touched upon at this stage. If we wish to get into this, I'm certain arrangements can be made for an executive session.
And tragically, the only member who got close was Jack Brooks, and he was stopped by the chairman. But the truth of the matter is that, yes, you do have those standby provisions, and the plans are there, and the statutory emergency plans are there, whereby you could in the name of stopping terrorism, apprehend, invoke the military, and arrest Americans.
So when we see the new documents coming out about re-education, torture, slave labor, that is unprecedented. But it's all part of a system whose roots are more than, well, 3 decades old. And it's time for people to realize we're in grave danger. We always knew this takeover would happen during a controlled economic collapse, the verge of new giant wars. Now is the time to get this information out, because if we expose it, they're not going to be able to roll it out later when they stage the crisis. I mean, they talk about how they're going to suppress people speaking out politically in the camps and how dangerous it is for us to speak out. Use the power of free speech we have now while we still have the internet. They got the cybersecurity takeover of the web, all this unfolding right now. They're moving on every front to clamp down right now because they know we have power. They know we're aware of their criminal activities. They know that we're waking up. If we didn't have power, they wouldn't be trying to set all this up. We have a chance to turn this back. Most of the military I talk to is awake. Most of the police I talk to are awake or waking up. That is encouraging, but that only means the globalists are going to accelerate their timetable. Next up, we have 2 FEMA camps from Police State 4. We also cover FEMA camp admissions for anybody out there who is in denial about this. But not only are the camps now admitted, these are re-education camps where they torture you and use you as slave labor. I want to be clear about the slave labor part. In 1986, under Rex 84, they opened 12 secret Army camps to test if they could keep them secret while they held federal. Now they hold state prisoners as well. Federal prisoners would then be given a few years off their sentence if they agreed to not tell family about it and to go to the labor camps. It is a labor camp, and under the revised military rules, it allows any U.S. citizens to be put in it under forced labor. Here is the Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, Army Regulation 210-35. It's exactly 30 pages long. I suggest you Google Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. Even if you don't have a computer, go to the library. This is important. Now, this is the big piece of news. This is to establish setting up prison labor camps, negotiations with correctional systems representatives to establish prison camps, governing criteria, civilian inmate labor camps, policy statement, governing provisions for operating civilian inmate prison camps on Army installations, procedures for establishing a civilian inmate prison camp on Army installations, infrastructure, inter-service, interagency, and interdepartmental support agreements, working with local police at the FEMA camps. In 2002, I published my book, Descent into Tyranny. I've been covering it since '97 when it was declassified, but I put it in my book, Descent into Tyranny. This sucker was set up in 1986 at 12 camps. It's since doubled to 24. And from 86 to 97, secretly at labor camps, U.S. citizens, non-military prisoners were worked on FEMA camps. Now, this was beta testing. They would tell them, you'll be given leniency and only serve half your sentence if you agree to labor. The minute you don't, you'll be sent back on these military bases, but you can't tell anybody national security. See, they were testing, can we keep camp secret from local police or get them to work with us? Can we keep camp secret from the media? So for 11 years, they kept this sucker secret. Reagan, Bush, Clinton. And then Clinton declassifies it and says it's a good thing in 97, and they double the number. We had secret copies of this when I first got on air in about 95, 96, with just the cover sheet of it, and people made fun of us and didn't believe it. Then it was declassified. This is from Army.mil. So here it is, the big kahuna. This is just one section of these, training the troops, training the infrastructure, creating the larger cadres to expand the archipelago of gulags. New legislation authorizes FEMA camps in the United States. and it says 6 major camps across the country with hundreds of sub-region camps. Now, if you watch my films and read the documents we put out, that's exactly what we said the camps are and how they operate, because we reverse engineered all this. The camps are already built. It's when they want to openly announce they're doing it that they then pass a law. And they say, oh, all these shut down military bases that they've been keeping refurbished and putting barbed wire facing in and putting in showers and bunks. And we knew that those were to be the FEMA camps, because in the FEMA documents and the congressional leaks and from people that worked at the camps, we knew, and we would list the camps. Then we noticed when it was declassified in 97 that the very camps that had been, quote, decommissioned under the base closure, because they'd said back in the 80s under Rex 84 they were going to use the camps in Congress. So we said, you want to know where the camps are? They're old military bases, and they're old POW camps from Italians, Germans, and Japanese. Now here's some more clips of the police and military doing checkpoints around the country to condition the public for military occupation, which the Stars and Stripes and Army Times admits is now being established to suppress the American people, along with their pot-bellied shock troops, the TSA.
Whether it's terrorism, riots, or any major disaster, local agencies will be the first to respond. That's why Roanoke City wants its disaster training to be as real as possible. Jeremy Butterfield has more.
It's supposed to look like a riot, and the scene at William Fleming High School had all the elements.
I'm one of the rioters that the guard and the police force had to take down and arrest, and did very successfully.
In this scenario, everyone has a role to play. The rioters were ready to fight back as Roanoke Police, Roanoke Fire, local National Guard troops, and members of the Virginia Defense Force secured perimeters and moved in to make the arrests.
Prior to 9/11, these organizations couldn't communicate and did not work together. They worked to support each other, but not together. And with the recent events of the last 3 to 5 years, we've become very good at working together, which is very important.
You bet. Now, we played the clip earlier of you on a local news station talking about Army checkpoints. The governor found out, thanks to you and others, and canceled it. Can you just, in a nutshell, tell us exactly, specifically what was going on?
Yes, I can. First of all, I have got to check. Now, I don't have concrete facts, but I don't think the military has, first of all, any jurisdiction to be checking seatbelts. When you look at the fact of a military unit being out, your daughter, my wife,